I'm not speaking from the left. This is just an observational reality. You can watch this guy for an hour and go like, holy shit, this guy is one of the shittiest people that's ever lived, let alone to lead a country.
So I tweeted this out today. I was listening to Mark Maron's WTF podcast yesterday, and in this video, we're going to set Mark straight by talking about the new FISA memo that's going to be released, Clinton treason, and the CIA creation known as Barack Obama, whose real name is Barry Soetoro. Given the explosive, shocking, and alarming FISA memo set to rock D.C., and potentially end the Mueller investigation, I want to share this soundbite with you from the Mark Maron podcast, which has become very popular. And in June of 2015, he actually hosted Barack Obama in his little garage there in California and interviewed the sitting president. So he's clearly a chosen one on the left. And for anybody who doesn't know of Mark Maron, he is a lefty right down to the center of his being, and we're going to talk about the intellectual dishonesty and hypocrisy of the left as exemplified by Mark Maron here in 1 second. As the news of the deep state and the Clinton-Obama cabal continues to pour out in cooperation with some of the treasonous, treacherous monsters on the right, like John McCain, to continue to say the things Maron says, and I'll play the soundbite for you in a minute, it's absolutely beyond reason. For those of you who don't know who Mark Maron is, he's a comedian, he's an actor on the show Glow, produced and broadcast on Netflix. But his claim to fame really is the Mark Maron podcast. He used to be a host on the liberal talk radio network, Air America, back in 2004. His lefty libtard roots are always on display, even in his WTF podcast, which is supposed to be apolitical. Let me play this soundbite for you as he disparages the sitting president for the first 2 minutes of his January 15th podcast featuring Lori Metcalf and Tom Segura. Listen to this.
How's everybody doing? You all right? How's it feel to be living in a country that's slowly becoming one of the bigger shitholes on the planet? And I'm saying that like we're using the word shithole now. But I have to be honest with you. I still believe in my heart that a much larger percentage of people just think that this president's a shitty person and a shitty president. That's the amazing thing about what's happening right now is there really is no way to deny that he is probably the worst president we've ever had, but also the fact that he's a shitty person. There's just no way to deny it. He's one of the great shitty people.
I'll pause it there, and I'm going to play more in a second because we'll let Mark have his piece since he has a bully pulpit with his popular podcast. But I want to ask Mark this. President Trump is a shitty person compared to who? Bill Clinton? Hillary Clinton? And their Clinton Foundation, which is responsible for the theft of billions of dollars, according to fraud investigator Charles Ortel, billions of dollars from the Haitian people after the 2010 devastating earthquake. Hillary Clinton, a treacherous, treasonous Rothschild agent who was Rothschild's choice for president and a personal friend of Linda Rothschild.
Lady de Rothschild, good to have you in. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us, before anything else, because I had a little difficulty finding it on the web, how did people find this on the web?
They go to www.togetherforus.com.
.com, not .org.
To get her for us.
You don't want to tell your listeners about that, do you? Let's continue.
Like right up there with the shittiest people ever. And this is not political. I am not being partisan. I'm not being liberal, Democrat, progressive. I'm not speaking from the left. This is just an observational reality. You can watch this guy for an hour and go like, holy shit, this guy is one of the shittiest people that's ever lived, let alone to lead a country.
Compared to who? Barack Obama? Barry Soetoro? A CIA creation, essentially placed in the position of president? A seditious Marxist? I know Mark Maron's a smart guy, but Mark, you're being so intellectually dishonest and obtuse, it defies belief. How about the Fast and Furious gun running through Barack Obama? Gun running that resulted in the deaths of American Border Patrol agents. How about the Benghazi nightmare and the blood of those dead men at the feet of Hillary Clinton?
What difference at this point does it make?
How about the U.S.-backed NATO invasion of Libya and the illegal toppling of Gaddafi? And of course, after they murdered him, something your savior Hillary gloated about.
We came, we saw, he died.
They implemented a Rothschild central bank. But you don't want to talk about that, do you?
He's just a horrible, compassionless, spiteful, hateful, delusional person.
We'll pause it there and we will talk briefly about some of the things that have been accomplished since this spiteful and delusional president was elected. So, Mark, here's just a few of the things that would not have happened had the corrupt, criminal, treasonous, duplicitous witch, Hillary Clinton, gotten into the White House. The mainstream mockingbird media, of which you used to be a part at Air America, is now completely discredited as the fake news it is. And thank God, at least for now, this country is not ensnared in the globalist Rothschild plan to tax us to death through their climate change propaganda. He pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accord. I know that must really upset you because he doesn't want the globalists to dictate what we do as a country economically. He also, by the way, pulled us out of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That must surely break your heart. ISIS has been neutered. It's no longer the international and domestic threat it would have been under Hillary Clinton. And this must break your heart. He also ended the CIA covert funding for ISIS-backed rebels in Syria. He also cut the funding for Pakistan, which, Mark, you might remember, played a role in some of the deviousness that took place on 9/11. Of course, the 9/11 official story really ought to be questioned after you watch the collapse of this building. Mark, that's World Trade Center 7, and the BBC reported about the collapse of that building about 25 minutes before it collapsed.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing, and indeed it has. It seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. As you can see behind me.
You might want to look into that. And of course, under President Trump, Planned Parenthood is no longer untouchable, and the states have some of their rights back to control federal funding for the organization that traffics in the body parts of dead babies. This one must really kill you too, Mark. The confirmation of 12 conservative circuit court judges that will hopefully stand for the Constitution as opposed to being opposed to it, and also the rule of law, a little thing that we're hoping to get back now that Hillary can't stack the Department of State, the FBI, and the Justice Department with her corrupt cohorts. And Mark, you may recall the death of Supreme Court Justice Vincent Scalia, who I believe was murdered, but of course they cremated the body before an actual investigation could be done into his death. But never mind that, Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch has been confirmed, and of course, as you know, just one more Marxist, lefty, treasonous liberal like Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have sunk our nation for sure. And Mark, this one really backs you up on all your claims about this horrible president who has, with the help of Congress, repealed the Obamacare mandate, which would have required Americans to sign up for health care that they may not even be able to afford by threat of IRS penalty. And I know that must kill you because you actually believe government by force is a good thing, and redistribution of wealth, by the way, in this case to corporations, is just dandy. And now, Mark, all of this brings me to the explosive, shocking, and alarming FISA memo that is set to rock Washington, D.C. and end this preposterous, stacked deck investigation by Robert Mueller. The 4-page memo detailing extensive FISA court abuse, by the way, that's when your guy Obama was in charge, was made available to the entire House of Representatives on Thursday. The contents of the memo are so explosive, says journalist Sarah Carter, that it could lead to the removal of senior officials in the FBI and the Department of Justice and the end of Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation. We're talking about sedition here, Mark. We're talking about people who not only disrespect the Constitution, they circumvent it. It's called the deep state, Mark, and your gal Hillary Clinton and your boy Barack Obama are deeply entrenched in the corruption of the deep state shadow government apparatus. And if you don't care about the Clinton Foundation and the billions that they took in illegal donations, pay-for-play donations from nation states and corporations that wanted favors from that treasonous witch when she got into the White House, if you don't want to be honest about that, then there is no helping you. But the fact of the matter is, they were bribes.
This is not partisan politics. This is just an astute observation from another human being. Here's the political part. Worst fucking president we've ever had. Here's the non-political part. Shittiest person I think I've ever seen get attention in mainstream culture. In the history of the planet.
In the history of the planet. Strong words, Mark. really, really intellectually succinct. Your ability to use your critical thinking skills in regards to politics has never shined brighter. As we wrap things up here, I want to point out for Mark and the audience that according to Q, some very, very important things will be coming out very, very shortly. And it's called The Crimes of the Deep State Being Laid Bare, Mark. And your gal Hillary and your boy Barack are up to it in their eyeballs. And you know what one of the penalties is for treason, Mark? Death. And those of us that love the Constitution and actually care about this country will be backing anybody who calls for the execution of the people who have been the most treacherous, the most treasonous, and the most criminal, as they purported to represent the people while they were in government. Q suggests that private email addresses were used by Loretta Lynch, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, James Clapper, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Mark, I hope you're taking notes, John McCain, Rod Rosenstein, Susan Rice, and Huma Abedin. And Mark, not that you actually care, but just to make it clear for your audience who may be listening to this important message, the purpose of having a private email while in government, even though it's illegal, is to avoid Freedom of Information FOIA requests and to generally keep your shady dealings hidden. But it's all coming out. The deep state, which you viciously and vocally defend, is being laid bare, and the deep state criminals, as exemplified by the Clintons and the Bush family, this is not a right or left thing, Mark, so if you were truly intellectually honest, you would make that note, but the deep state, as exemplified by the Clintons and the Bushes and Obama and the CIA and Google and Eric Schmidt, who's in bed with Hillary Clinton trying to get her elected, and all of the rest of this shadow government apparatus is being laid bare. And from this moment on, Mark, I hope in your future broadcasts you're more honest about the reality of what's happening in this country, because it's not one person you hate. It's not President Donald Trump that you loathe. If you actually love and embrace Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, knowing the treachery they've been involved in, then what you must actually hate is the Constitution and the rule of law that once held our country up. And God willing, we'll get it back. Thanks for watching, and for real news, the antidote to corporate propaganda and libtard mouthpieces like Mark Maron, visit us at sgtreport.com. God bless.
The evil of this, I mean, the satanic nature of the pedophilia that's going on, and the combination of the Satanism with the pedophilia is going to be shocking to the average American.